All right, let's see what's going on. I guess we on. Hey, what's going on, party people? Hope everybody's doing well out there. Now, if this is your first time here, welcome. It's definitely a great pleasure to have you guys here. Now, I go by the name of Lespri. I am a spiritual healer. And essentially, what I do as a spiritual healer, I just help you to attain your highest level of consciousness. And just so you have a good understanding of what that is, so when we're talking about having or you attaining your highest level of consciousness, it's exactly what it means to be, let's just say, a Christ figure, or to be Christ like, to be Krishna like, to be Buddha like. If you know and understand anything about these people, what you truly see is that you're able to see their elevation through their trials and tribulation, and most importantly, what they became. Jesus became the Christ, Siddhartha became the Buddha. So it's almost like something that they have attained. And that attainment, is that, that's what I help you with, for you to attain your highest level of consciousness. Now, the way that I do that, I technically help you to become mentally and emotionally balanced. And that's very important because if neither one of these things aren't balanced or are not in harmony, respectively, then now they go together. Well, guess what? That's when you become too emotional, right? So if you're too emotional, let's just say, a lot of us, we know what brothers go through, you know what I'm saying, when, during a certain period of time that, let's just say, you're trying to get with a lady, or let's just say you in love, or you mad, regardless of what the situation is, when you're not emotionally balanced, it has a direct impact on your intellect. So, therefore, the emotions itself not being balanced will definitely have an impact on your mental. And that is why they both got to come together. Because if neither one of them is actually balanced, then, well, they do have an impact on each other. So, either one of them who's not balanced most likely will make the other one unbalanced. Let's just say now, if you choose not to be too emotional, you're very intellect or very logical, very mental, everything you do is logic, right? Then at, then at that point, you become very robotic, cutthroat, and, judge, you know what I'm saying? What's that judge name? Judge Dredd, like I like to call you guys. Then you became Judge Dredd. You're reading people's right, and guess what? The same shit's gonna happen to you. Only because when dealing with your logic, you gotta add a little bit of emotion in it. Because what the emotion does to your intellect, it opens it up a little bit. It expands it. It softens it up a little bit. Instead of being rigid, it regularizes it. It helps you to see behind the logic. And obviously, in life, not everything is logic. And that's logical in itself. Shit's crazy. You have to embrace it all. Do you see what I'm saying? And, so that's why you have to become mentally and emotionally balanced. Because now at this point, let's just say if your emotions are balanced, then now, most likely your mental will also be balanced. Then you'll have more clarity than, let's just say, if you were depressed or if you were mad or if you're in love. So again, so I help you to become mentally and emotionally balanced. It's important. Only then can now you have the broader perspective that would allow you now to attain your highest level of consciousness. Okay, now, how do I help you to become mentally and emotionally balanced? Now, what am I talking about when I'm talking about, let's just say, being emotionally balanced? What I'm truly saying here, it's you having a proper understanding and understand how your emotions work and you having the ability to modify, change, or deal with your own emotions. You know, let's just say if you're mad, you know how to calm yourself down, or if you want to be excited, whatever the fuck. I mean, it doesn't have to be on one level, but you're not being triggered. You are in tune with your emotions. You know exactly. You are one, meaning you understand what triggers you, you understand your emotional pattern. So now, if you want to go off, now that's on you. Like I know sometimes for me, you know what I'm saying? That's why, you just gotta let a nigga know sometimes. Not necessarily, like I'm being responsive or reacting, but it just gotta address certain shit. You know what I'm saying? Like I know for me sometimes, I would put my heart in it to address whatever needs to be addressed, but not because I'm being triggered or do you see what I'm saying? So being emotionally balanced, it's you being in tune with your emotions. And you may choose to raise your voice if you want, or you may choose not to raise your voice. Just like anger. When you become emotionally balanced, you know how to control your anger. Like sometimes you gotta be angry. You better learn how to be angry, motherfucker. Shit. Effectively too. Do you see what I'm saying? Contrary to the popular belief that's trying to tell you, to be emotionally balanced is not to raise your voice or not to or to behave a certain way. That's more like deceiving other people, and most likely this is not addressing the issue at all. If you having an emotional issue and it's you feel like, not not raising your voice is not going to solve it. I certainly understand that. But it's more than that though. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes you may have to raise your voice. You know what I'm saying? You gotta let a nigga know at times. So being emotionally balanced is truly you understanding how your emotions work and having a fucking proper understanding. You being in charge of your emotions. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's a lot more than just say not to raise your voice or to act a certain way. If anything, that part of it is dealing more. This is you not expressing. It's more because you're not expressing yourself. I'm not saying that's the reason why you're acting that way because everybody reacts differently. But again, it's you being triggered, not being in charge of your emotions. But anyway, now, in addition to that, it's the same baseline understanding when it comes to you being mentally balanced. At this point, this is you understanding how your minds work. You have to understand how your own mind works. Because for you to be in control of your mind, you're gonna have to be self-aware of everything. That's what self-conscious is. So now you understand why and how your mind is being shaped. You understand the influence of your culture into your life. You understand different aspect of life and how they condition you. Now, only then at that point, then now you're able to mold yourself the way you want it to be. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't be mentally balanced if someone else is controlling your mind, man. You know what I'm saying? How do you be mentally balanced and I just come over here and tell you to jump? You just jump. Like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? Well, I don't know. It doesn't work that way. So again, being mentally balanced here, that's why I always tell people when it comes to spirituality too, and in just a second I'll be talking a little bit more about that. It's again, it's your regular life. It's the life that we're going through now and having a proper understanding of this reality. Because obviously, there is a lot more to what this reality appears to be. That's why even when we look at each other, you are more than just a physical body. There's a whole thinking aspect that comes with you, and that entails, the way you see things, your character, and all of that. And for me to know who you are, that's the part of you that I need to know. I mean, I'm not gonna say fuck your physical part; it doesn't exist. Yeah, I see it. In fact, I could identify it when I see it too. But there's more to that to you, and to me too. In fact, to get to know somebody is to find them. You look for them. But anyway, I'm not gonna delve too much into that part. You get the point. So again, and that's pretty much what I do. When it comes to helping you to become mentally and emotionally balanced, and obviously everything that we'll be talking about will address those different aspects on how you see things, especially when it comes to spirituality. But not just spirituality. Well, to us, I mean, again, spirituality. And again, spirituality is us, the way we operate. It's just, and that's what spirituality is. It's telling you the story of the spirit, which is your story. Anyway, obviously, I guess in so many words, I had already defined that. But anyway, I'll get back to it. Now, that's pretty much in a nutshell. That's what I do here. So again, welcome if this is your first time. Now, if you're coming back, come on, baby, you already know. You already know. Love is love. Listen, man, it's an honor for me to serve you. Sir, ma'am, whoever the fuck you are. I mean, whoever is able to edify themselves or to learn from this, well, obviously, it is yours. You know what I'm saying? But if you're not learning from this, it doesn't serve you. It's okay, man. Don't trip. You know what I'm saying? I ain't tripping. I ain't tripping. I'm not losing faith. You ain't got nothing on me, baby. Do you? It's not for you. It's all good. You know what I'm saying? Come again. You never know. Or check out another video. Who the fuck knows? Or maybe I'm just not your dude. But either way, you know what I'm saying? This is for the ones who appreciates it. And that's all I could do. And that's you. I mean, if you coming back, come on, baby. You already know. You know what I'm saying? But I have some low key haters too that are coming back. Well, to those motherfuckers, I'm just the bad news for you. I don't know why you want to hurt yourself, but I'm your bad news. And it is what it is. We're gonna leave that alone. So again, as you can see, what we truly do here, man, is spread love. It's truly, us helping each other, giving the sights to the blind, you know what I'm saying, and doing God's work pretty much by helping you to be a better version of you. And the nature of the conversation in itself speaks for itself. So that's what makes me fucking like, I guess, as good as the fucking message. The whole idea of the cauldron, just so you guys know if you know anything about that. You know what I'm saying? So you as good as what's inside of you. But anyway, we're going to be talking about the spiritual activation. So keep that in mind. You know what I'm saying? Keep that in mind. Yeah, everything's said for everything. Yo, there's a purpose for everything. Even when you don't know it nor understand it. So, if you're coming back, you already know. Now, if this is your first time here, guys, as part of my process, I guess, just to give you a better understanding of myself, but most importantly of where I'm coming from and what this knowledge to me is all about, right? So, as a spiritual healer, my foundation, where I get my understanding from, so I could share it with you today, is in spirituality. It's out of spirituality. So as a result, I always feel like it's necessary for me to let you know, or to summarize it briefly, at least from my perspective, what I think spirituality is. Because again, the spiritual activation, that's what we're doing here. You know what I'm saying? I'm getting you motherfuckers baptized, activated, ready to go. So, so I always take the liberty, and break it down a little bit. But anyway, let's get to it. So, what the fuck is spirituality, right? To me, simply put, it's your life. And not to, because I guess in so many words I had already touched on it, but most importantly, this whole conversation is a reflection of that. So when we're talking about spirituality, this is your nature, your essence. When we strip everything away and and trying to have a better understanding of who we are as human beings, then you get down to, you truly being a living mind. Because, our interaction with wisdom and knowledge, what it does and how we see things, when you analyze us the way, that's why, the Bible is saying that you are a reflection of God, or you were created at God's image. All of that makes sense. Because especially when it comes to us, and that's the difference between human being and what you would call animals, right? We have the ability, to grow, to think logically, to change our reality, to name shit. Oh, there's a whole understanding that comes with that. Because you can't name nothing that you don't know. But that's a whole different conversation. It just had to be said for the great listeners. You can't name nothing you don't know. Anyway, when you look at our essence, even in us believing in God, you see many people have different gods. They have different ways of living their lives, and that is based on what the actual description of what their God is. So in spirituality, it's not a belief system. We go beyond that. It's that and more, because spirituality pretty much embodies everything. So for most people, the misconception that they have about spirituality is that they say it's a belief system, right? You have your belief, I have my belief, and all of that. It goes beyond that. That's also another misconception when it comes to spirituality. And the biggest one, and that's like no matter how you, it really comes down to people don't see spirituality as part of their immediate life. Meaning you always look at it as something that's outside of you. Righteously, you were actually trained to see it that way too. So it's not a coincidence there. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just trying to get you to acknowledge it. So the reason why a lot of people have misconception or don't know what spirituality is, or you tend to look at it as something that's being outside of you, that's obviously you've been conditioned to think it that way, but because you don't see it in you, it's not. You know what I'm saying? Like, for the most part, your whole understanding of spirituality maybe like a Indian looking type of motherfucker walking around with the fucking towel wrapped around his ass. You know what I'm saying? Or for you, it could be just the monks. They dress as a certain way. But the bottom line here is that you see it as something that's not part of you, because you learn to identify with yourself only as the physical self, meaning you see yourself as dick and pussy. And that's what in the spiritual world, or as we understand our essence, we call it ignorance. And as you get to know yourself, it's not something that we are created about ourselves. It's something that you are. But again, we're going to be talking about the activation aspect of that. So I want you to keep that in mind. But for now, let's just make sure that I give you a solid understanding of what I believe spirituality is. So when you look at different religions, right, they have their different beliefs. But spirituality is embodies all of it because it gives you a better understanding of what you're looking at. For instance, right? Like if I were to tell you, you act like you're God, you may say whatever you want to say about me, right? But ultimately, but if you truly understand what I just told you, is listen, and that goes for everybody. What you see Christian do, well, that's what the Bible tells them to do. That's why, if you truly understand that, like I always tell people, mythology is the highest form of mind control. See, our ancestors, we created mythology because we understand our essence. Your essence, like you need God and God needs you. The way you operate with your mind eye. That's why a man that knows better will do better. There's no excuses about that. And that knowing better is not just a knowledge of what is better. We're saying knowing anything, and I'll get into that. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here. Because when you really understand the way you operate, that's why they tell you change your mind or change your thinking, changing your life. And what this is referring here, it's not a thought or an idea. It's saying change your altogether way of understanding or increase it or understand a little bit better, then you will change your life. That's why you can only go as far as you can go. Sky's the limit. And that goes for everybody. And when you understand that, that's why the wise man tells you someone who says I can, he's right. And the one that says that I can't is both right. Because we understand the nature, it's on you. So whatever you say, go. Like I always tell people, like in spirit, like when you choose your God, if I become a 7-day Adventist right now, my reality changes right now. Saturday, it has a whole different meaning than your Saturday. So my God, or my understanding of what God is creating my reality. And we also know it too. That's why you would say to another motherfucker, yeah, if you're a Christian, why do you act this way? If you're talking about God, 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 why are you not a reflection of that? So I'm just saying that to say, subconsciously, you already know it. So what you're also saying to that person is, you talk about Christ, but you're not being like him. But what I need you to understand now, to be like him, you got to be like him. To reflect God, you got to see that God image in you. That's why everything starts with you. So again, this is spirituality here, dealing and embodying all of it. That's why a man of spirit or a man of God, I'm not limited to a fucking religion. I learn from all of them. Because ultimately I already understand, what to look for. Because those are tools to serve you. Like, you need God in your life. Yes, it makes you feel good. It helps you to explore a whole other aspect of your being. That's why we have faith. That's why we have integrity. It's in you. Isn't it not? But anyway, I'm getting a little bit ahead of this conversation here because we're going to have a good one tonight. But again, when it comes to spirituality, it's your regular life. Now, in spirituality, there's something called another part of spirituality that is now dealing with the practical knowledge of everything I just said. It's called the occult, or it's also called esoteric knowledge. Occult esoteric knowledge is dealing with the type of knowledge that goes beyond the surface. That's why if you know anything about spirituality or the occult for that matter, some of the basic shit they will tell you, because the whole aspect of the occult is for you to deal with your dark side. Another way of saying this is for you to be in touch with the non physical aspect of you. When we say you have a subconscious mind, this is helping you, your conscious mind, to be aware of something else in you, which is a subconscious mind, to identify that. So you delving into your dark side. Again, the dark side, let me put it to you guys this way, right? And just so you guys understand it too. Because I guess as part of what I do, I don't use a lot of the occult, let's just say, um, vernaculars. And what that means is I don't use a lot of the occult. I mean, I do know some of them, but my it's listen. I want to dumb this shit down to the best of my ability. Another reason too, you're always gonna get the best over here. Tell a friend. So every profession, every literature, every sector, every philosophy, there's a certain ways, there's a certain vernacular or expression or statements. There's a certain way they say shit. Like a perfect example would say in the occult. Okay, I'll give you one. What you see is always controlled by what you don't see. I mean, it gives you that mysterious feel. Like, honestly, I fucking love that shit. But for understanding purposes, right? What this is showing here too, and this is also too for the love of wisdom too. Like, I know, like, come on. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, that shit, that's that's a hard on for, like, that shit. I just got hard just now, just by saying that shit. But anyway, I'm saying that to say, right, and what that meant, just so you guys understand, and of course some of you may also understand it, is that when you get to understand yourself, for instance, right, then you understand what's really controlling your conscious mind is your subconscious mind. That's why you go see a therapist. Even though you think you being conscious about certain things, there's a higher part of you that you're not in control of. Now, in the occult, we're helping you to identify those things about you. We talk about the shadow self. We talked about all of these different aspects of you. That's what you'll find in the occult, helping you to deal with the non-physical aspect of you. So in other words, what the occult does, it's a manual, or that what you call the esoteric knowledge, that gives you a deeper understanding of your ordinary reality. So if I'm looking at myself here, guess what? I have a conscious mind and I have a subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind is very subtle, but then as you start growing too, or they have their own. Anyway, just for the sake of it, that's why us, who's deeply or who has become the true Illuminati, we understand the conscious mind is your subconscious mind. But that's for a whole other conversation. You feel me? But for the sake of what we were talking about here, in terms of you having a deeper, having a proper understanding of spirituality, it's your regular life. Then now you're dealing with the occult. You'll see terms like hermetic, something sealed. All of these things is referring to the type of knowledge that you have to look for. You got to look for it because it's not at face value. It's not right in front of you. And that's why, the us in the occult, we use esoteric knowledge, because that's the knowledge dealing with the shit that are subtle, that goes beyond the surface. And obviously, by telling you an example about the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, that's what some of the basic of the occult would first teach you in order for you to have, but the whole purpose is for you to have a deeper understanding of who you are. What this is truly doing, when it all said and done, that's why your purpose is for you to become Christ-like. It's nothing else. Everything else is secondary to that. It's you being woke, it's you knowing who the fuck you are, and then anything else from there, I mean, will derive from there. So, going back to the occult here, so that's what you're dealing with when we're dealing with the occult. Then you understand, guess what? You have a third eye. You have your chakras. You have your auras. Again, non-physical aspect of you that exists. So if I were to cut your body open right now, you're not going to see your chakra. But we use it when we talk about those chakras. Those are energy centers in you. So those centers in your belly, your sacral chakra, your heart, those are portals. They are radiating. Like there's movement in there. So we associate that with, again, when you're dealing with the occult, you're dealing with the other aspect. It's pretty much you dealing with the non-physical aspect of you. Because in reality, or in actuality, it is the non-physical aspect of you that is ruling the physical aspect of you. Your thinking, your emotions, all of these things. So that's why if you don't have harmony, or if you're not highly connected in God, which is the highest version of yourself, you're not in alignment. But I'm jumping a little bit ahead of myself here. So again, when you truly understand that, spirituality is it's just your regular life. This is you walking around, scratching your ass, you know what I'm saying, smoking while I'm talking to you now. So this is all about you. But now what we're going to be talking about tonight, though, is the activation of that. Because, listen, look at it this way. A seed and a tree. Let's just say a mango seed, right? The fruit is in there. In the seed, there's everything in the seed. Would you agree? But would you also agree the seed is not the same as the tree? So I'm saying that to say that the first part, dealing with just the seed in itself that has everything in it, well, this is us. You know, those of us who, let's just say, were born a male with a dick, well, we understand there's a difference between having a dick and becoming a man. And later on, even to become a father or a dad, whatever the fuck, how deep you want to look at it. But what I'm trying to get you to see, and what we also acknowledge subconsciously without us knowing, and again, this is just showing you the way we operate. We are a spiritual being, although we don't even acknowledge it. It's in our speech, our day-to-day, everything, the way we operate. Now, that activation that we're talking about here is for you to become conscious of it. Having a dick doesn't make you a man. And surely having a pussy is not going to make you that neither. I digress. You know what I'm saying? I just, it was, I just had to let it go a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Ow. But anyway, the underlying understanding of what I'm trying to get you to see here is that there's a little bit more in us than what we appear to be. And for us to be our greater version, in our essence, we got to dig deeper into us. So, again, that's why knowing yourself will set you free. And that's for every fucking body, regardless of what religion you choose to follow. Tomatoes, tomatoes. You know what I'm saying? I'm giving you the keys of all keys, nigga. You wanted to carry a whole lot of them. Just get the right key, you'll be all right. But anyway, that's why it really comes down to it's not how much you see, it's quality. It's never been quantity. It's how you're looking at it. Because if you're looking at it from the wrong perspective, yeah, you're gonna sound logical, but I mean, shit, you could use logic for everything. Logic is logic is everywhere, dog. Even in dumb shit. But again, we're talking about relative, like we're talking about different levels here. And each one of those levels, there are logics in them. Believe me. That's why, again, that's why meditation is important. That's why you reading a book, you can't approach this knowledge, academically. You see what I'm saying? And that's why those of us who understand that, and that's why when this little motherfucker, um, ah, Einstein said imagination is more powerful than knowledge. This motherfucker nailed it. He nailed it. You see what I'm saying? Because if you don't have the proper understanding to read certain books, you're not gonna get it. I don't give a fuck if you know your alphabet from front. From A to Z and from Z to A. That's where meditation comes in too. That's how important it is. Those aha moments. It's almost like that's why when you understand that, when you're seeking true knowledge, what do? You pray to God. But that's a different conversation though. And praying to God doesn't mean you kneeled and you do any of that shit. Just you know, being in just the meditation. That's why you gotta have a purpose when you meditate. Because you're trying to expand your consciousness. That's what you're doing. That's why you cannot you cannot solve the problem with the same state of mind that created the problem. So you got to tap into something else in you. I know that's where what I'm saying. Depending on how you're looking at it, this may not be logical to you at all. It's almost like, well, I know you've never been there, but you got to know how to get there. And not knowing that, you got to have the address, nigga. You got to have something about there's got to be something that you know about what you don't know for you to know what you don't know. But again, when you understand that too, that's why I always recommend the Kabbalion for a lot of you guys. Opposite meets. A paradox. That's what life is. You embrace that. But anyway, I don't wanna but this is all part of your spiritual activation. Because now you're becoming aware of the mental nature of what's around you, including yourself. But for you to do that, you got to have a better understanding of who you are. So going back to, it's almost like there's a, almost just like that seed. Well, you're gonna have to plant it first. Then you gotta water it, and the sun's got to do whatever the sun does. It's, the same goes for you. The same goes for all of us. And that's the transformation that you got to go through, even in life. For a man to be like, as a child, I spoke as a child. Now that I am a man, I'm speaking like a man. Well, you got to go through the transformations. If not, and that's what we have. A lot of we have a lot of adult babies in adult body, and those are your murderers too. Anyway, but that will be a whole different conversation. So it's almost like you are everything, and at the same time, you're not everything. You are everything, but you got to make it count. That's when you come in. That's why you have to water your garden. That's why you have to value yourself. Because in actuality, no one ever accomplished anything without valuing who they are. In fact, to look for values, you got to become valuable yourself. I'm trying to get you to see the connection, the transformation, and the essence of how we operate. To the pure, all is pure. So, as you being the beholder, part of your spiritual activation, for you to be activated, that's why you have to align yourself with God. You got to see God in you. In other words, you got to see you as being the image of God, whichever one is more subtle on your little heart, or whichever one that you're willing to accept. Because I certainly understand, if I were to say I am God, how would that could be, there's a lot of resentment. But again, the whole idea, if I were to say that, it's not for me, let's just say, to belittle God, but in fact, it's because I had to see it in me. Because for me to search for values, you got to become valuable. And that's just the way we operate. That's why, again, if you think money is everything, that's your money activation. Now, this part that says if you think money is everything, then you'll do everything for money. So understand this. Now, you thinking money's everything, it's not saying that you have a thought about money, but it's your understanding of what money is. Your general sense of understanding, meaning when you look around you, what you see is that money rules this world, man. If you ain't got no money, you ain't shit, bro. So that's where your consciousness, that's all you able to see, then you'll do anything for money. Because obviously you have not seen beyond money. Or you don't have the understanding that would make you not do different. You see what I'm saying? Versus me, I see money as a medium of fucking exchange. I mean, I know a lot of the rappers saying they are hustling, they doing all that shit. They are like in the studio 24 hours. But goddamn, Lil Wayne, dog, like I love that nigga music. Do you see what I'm saying? And then like this nigga became a millionaire because what you saying your music is not hot? So you can't get money just by doing nothing. How is money everything? If you are the money. So again, you don't even have that little bit of understanding. Even when you stealing, you robbing somebody. That's what you do for money. In other words, you got to do something for it. How is it everything when it's you? Some people use their skills. Other people rob people, forge documents, steal. Especially if you ain't got no you don't see nothing in you. That's why you try to be like other people. When you seek value in you, there's no way you're gonna want to be like anybody. I mean, I would be insulted, for me personally, if anybody were to tell me I'm trying to be like anybody. Like, don't get it fucked up. There's a bunch of motherfuckers that I really love and I enjoy. But this is me, nigga. You know what I'm saying? I give you yours when it's time for you to get yours. I mean, isn't it my life? But anyway, I'm saying all of that to say, going back to how your minds work. See, people, when you have that type of understanding, it has a direct impact on how you act. Just like when I was talking about earlier, if I become a 7 day Adventist, then my whole understanding of God, if God tells me, now, this is the only Bible that I got to go by. Christians, the only people, whatever they say, they're going to show you is in the Bible, dog. As if I give a fuck. Think about it. Like, whoa, 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 whoa. It's in the Bible. Or even if you were having an argument with this nigga, would you like to show me where does it say that in your Bible? Because you're also saying his Bible, that's what it goes by. That right there is what his mind control is all about. And that's why mythology is the highest form of mind control. We're not saying here, the one thing I want you guys to keep in mind, right? I'm not criticizing, I'm not saying this is good, this is bad. I'm saying that's how everybody operates. If I'm in Buddhism or if I'm in voodoo, whatever the fuck I'm into, I'm gonna duplicate. Well, not necessarily duplicating, but I'm gonna reflect my understanding of what that God is to me. So why is this important? I want you to keep that in mind. That's why for you to okay, even in kids, right? There's I can't recall what was the name of that. There's a word or that pretty much explain or that tells you, there's a reason why like kids, they don't listen to what you say. They see how you act because their mind eye, that's what they see. That's why what you're saying means nothing. So what they see, because they don't have the proper discernment yet, but that beholder, you looking at this shit, the mind eye, that part is you. Like we always say, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. You are that beholder. And if you understand that, there's something else in the occult. That's why we would tell you, like, you are more than what you do. That's why you're not attached, let's just say, to your past behavior. You shouldn't be attached to your past behavior because you are more than that, which is what? The beholder. And when you truly understand that, you set yourself free now. That's why, hey, a word to the wise, you better choose your God wisely. Forget about that. The nature of knowledge that you feed in yourself, that's what you should be concerned with. But again, even for me to mention the nature, I'm also referring to discernment too. You got to have discernment to see that. But anyway, the way we operate, I mean, just like a kid that would do what you do. Now, the difference would be for us, let's just say I may not necessarily copy what you do, but a certain type of understanding. That's what's going to become my mind eye view, for lack of better terms. I'm just trying to make up shit, but for you to get the point, it's almost like when you see it in your mind, just like when we were talking about, if you think money's everything, meaning in your mind, in your understanding, to the full of your capacity, that's what you understand. Well, guess what? I mean, shit, all right? It's just a matter of time. Just a matter of time. But again, I'm saying all of that to say, so for you now to activate your spirituality, I mean, what do you identify yourself with? See, a lot of us, when I always tell people, you're the one worshiping idols, but you don't even know it. Meaning you're living a lustful life. And this is not just referring to sex. I know that's what it's referring to, but what I'm trying to say to you is that you're living a carnal life. You're going by the flesh. Every time, let's just say, if you living your life, trying to keep up with the Joneses, that's worshiping idols. Because a lot of people don't even understand the word worship. This is you reflecting that in your living. Do you see what I'm saying? Now, you may say to yourself, you know what? I'm not a rapper. You know what I'm saying? I don't do what these motherfuckers do, meaning in terms of niggas holding money like fucking phone and shit. You may not be that vanity type of motherfucker. But if your understanding of what this life is only, let's just say, for you to go to school, for you to get your degree, for you to be married, for you to have kids, for you to buy a house, your 401k, if your definition of this life is just that, there's no difference between you and this rapper nigga that you may think that you better than. Because both of you are worshiping idols. And neither one of you is close nor closer to God. Because you can't get to God without getting into you. Meaning start seeing those divine qualities in you. So for you to activate that again, to look for values, you have to become valuable. And as you become valuable, the whole aspect, of you changing, then you start acting different. Now you have the ability to look at a girl or at a woman, whichever title you choose to, but you're looking at her beyond, not just for her ass, her tits, and her pussy. But you gotta see that in you first. You gotta develop that in you. You gotta see it in you. In other words, you gotta see yourself that way first. Then now you can look at that ass. It's looking good. It's firm and all that. But what else, baby? What's going on? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, yeah. And when you're doing that too, there's something else that's also taking place in you. That's how you truly control your lust. Because when you're no longer living a lustful life, you're not going just by the flesh. Meaning, because I know God, you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying I don't want a beautiful car, but I'm not, I don't identify with it. The whole aspect, this is what you guys need to understand. The whole aspect of being, or the whole idea or meaning of being in the world and not of the world, that means, listen, I got a nice car. What else? Just to have a nice car, man. Versus other people that have a nice car. Well, man, I feel good. Or this is saying that I'm doing good in life. But most importantly, I want you to see it too. Whereas being in the world and not of the world, this is a beautiful car, you just drive it and nothing else. Like, I know for me, I love beautiful cars, nigga. But you won't even know what kind of car I'm driving until it's either you see me driving or I'm giving you a ride. Otherwise, what is there for me to talk about? Or if we're having a car conversation. But the bottom line of what I'm saying here, it doesn't it's not my identity. Because for you to activate your spirituality, or to activate your spirituality, you have to identify yourself with the spirit. That's what being a loyal servant of God is. You got to dedicate yourself to the spirit, because that dedication to the spirit, that's what's going to manifest into your life. That's how you actually get your life to be balanced. But most importantly, we're going back to you purifying your existence. You're purifying your eyes. Now you're seeing better. Meaning, I don't just look at your dick and pussy. I see you as a person or as a spirit. And because I see it that way, when they talk about the fruit of the spirit, because now I identify myself with the spirit. So I'm going to be peaceful. It's going to be joy. It's going to be compassion for your black ass or your white ass, whoever the fuck you are. It's just that. So essentially, and here's what I also want you guys to understand too, and I'm just going to say it, it all comes down to your perspective. It's really, are you seeing beyond the veil, or are you looking at the veil? That's pretty much what it comes down to. And when you're looking at the veil, meaning now you're living a lustful life, you just see life from the external perspective. You don't see the internal perspective. And for you to become a master of your life, you have to master the internal side of you. Just like we were saying, being born a male, that for the most part means you got a dick. Doesn't make you a man. A man is something a little more deeper than your genitals, and a woman too, vice versa. And in life, what we're doing is becoming our greater version, and the only way for you to accomplish that is by you going inward, inside of you. Again, the esoteric, going beyond the obvious. In the Indian, they call this world what? Maya, meaning a world of illusion. It's not what it appears to be, or as it appears to be. So again, this is the living experience, man. It's not a way to escape this reality and then go to heaven. It's right here, dog. The transformation has to take place here. You have to activate that right here. And as you do so, then you transcend this reality. You transcend this reality not by saying to yourself, fuck the body, not by refuting the physical body, but you do so by acknowledging the God in you. And when you do so, now your capacity, just like when you look at money, God has to become that for you. And then as you do so, in so many words, that's how you get to change your DNA too. Because what's taking place is your intelligence, by the way, should be used for you to delve into you. But anyway, but as you going through that transformation, because that activation, if you want to call it that, well, since that's what the title is, you know, that's when you change your, your intelligence become different, your mind become different, and your senses become different too. For those of us who are psychic, you know what I'm talking about. But you do so by acknowledging, by elevating your vibration or acknowledging God or another way of saying that. That's why you got to dedicate your life to God. And that's what that means. Your devotion to God has got to be like it's non-negotiable. And when you also understand that, the part of us that allows us to elevate is the God in us. That inspiration, that deeper aspect of us, those divine qualities that you need to embody. And that's the work you actually gotta put in. But this is what you gotta seek for, and that's what your intelligence should be used for. One of the main things. Well, the main thing. And of course, you're going to use it for other stuff, but anyway, for the sake of this conversation. So, to activate your spirituality, you have to become in alignment with your higher self. You have to acknowledge the God in you. That's what it is. It is to acknowledge the God in you. Now, the motherfucker now that became a spiritual guy, he's telling you how important it is for me to meditate. All this fancy shit, all your spiritual motherfuckers are talking about, that I'm giving you the baseline understanding of it for you to master that shit. And then when you truly understand that, then if I become, let's just say, a monk, then you understand now, because there's a whole understanding even with the clothes that they wear. So that's why I don't want you guys to get it fucked up. I understand it. I'm not, when I say your spirituality is your essence, you know what I'm saying? It's not to say what they're doing is bullshit, but it's to make you understand that when it really comes down to it, this is what it is. They're not doing bullshit by dressing up that way or the motherfucker. I mean, they do what they do. And there's a whole beautiful science that comes with that. But just so you know, motherfucker, just because you may not be a monk, that doesn't make you less spiritual than that motherfucker, though. Because what makes him who he is not the clothes. That's what I'm trying to get you to understand. Yeah, he does wear the clothes. But the monk, what makes a monk is not the clothes, bro. It goes beyond that. So again, we're dealing with what? Dark side of all of us. And that dark side, what I meant by that, a part of us that goes beyond what we see. What you see, light. Okay, what you don't see is in the dark. So this is the polarity that we are, that makes us. So for you to also activate your spirit, that's when I always recommend the Kabbalion to understand the seven principle of Tahuti, because those steps are, or the spiritual laws, or understanding about, or pretty much I mean, different aspect of you for you to master. That's why the Kabbalion is a self mastery book, like I always tell you niggas. And you, again, that's when you would have to be devoted to God, you know, and this is all part of yours to activate your spirituality. It's by me helping you to become aware of some of the shit that is dormant to you, or that you don't see. That's how I'm giving you the sight. And that's when you understand truly your eyesight, I mean your insight is your true sight. And that's why also, if I were to go back to what I said earlier, in the occult we say what you don't see. What you see is controlled by what you don't see. I know it sounds mysterious. Ooh. You know what I'm saying? I hope I didn't scare you too much. Again, your regular fucking life. But now what we're talking about, we're delving more into it. We're having a deeper understanding of what's going on here. Even when you're looking at the shit we are able to create, even with what's coming out AI, or a lot of those, I mean, it's regular shit that we're using in nature. Even what, okay, and just to show you too, everything is more than what it looks like. What you call witchcraft, right? It's people who are putting spell on people or whatever the fuck that they're doing. They're using what you call natural things to accomplish something else. But all of it, though, it's more than what it appears to be. That's why I could tell you, use this, use that, use this, go and do that. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Scotty didn't know. Scotty didn't know. So, your true spiritual activation is truly for you to acknowledge the non physical aspect of yourself. And as you acknowledge that, then you have to be devoted to it. Because for you to constantly operate a certain way, I mean, that's why they say, I mean, you can't worship two gods. And what this is referring to, I mean, you're not gonna have two. I mean, I mean, we only operate on one software, bro. It's either you Apple or you fucking Android, dog. You know what I'm saying? You're not gonna have a system that operate both systems, bro. You know what I'm saying? Now, out of one system, you could download. You could have so many different. You could have Microsoft Edge. You could have Chrome. You can have this. You can have all that shit. And from, do you see what I'm trying to tell you? Without telling you. But I already said it. If you understand it. But I didn't verbalize it. What this is saying is, let's just say, you know what I'm saying, like, that's why, listen, man, it's quality over quantity. Keep that in mind. It's how you're looking at it. And how you're looking at it now, it reinforces your intelligence, your mind, and your senses. And for us, as I was saying, to those of us who are psychic or have the ability of mediumship, then you understand, the higher as, I'm saying, your gifts, you understand your senses become different. It's almost like you breathe the air on a whole different level than other people who's not in that same level of consciousness with you. If you know, you know. And if you know, I know you know. I just do. I'm saying maybe I breathe a certain way. But again, as it's all part of that activation, but most importantly, to reflect it. Because it really comes down to, because our essence, like I always tell people, right? People are always talking about the law of manifestation. And like I tell people too, in my last recording, I was talking about the whole Steve Harvey shit. Marketing. Understand the collective consciousness. The collective consciousness will tell you how people are thinking. Or, if you understand how they're thinking, now you reflect it back to them. When Steve Harvey tells you, think like a man and act like a lady, book, listen, I don't think he didn't have to tell you that. You were already doing that. You went and got this book because you can't relate to it. It's almost like, what was I thinking that I couldn't put my finger on? Think like a man, act like a lady. That's it. Thank you, Steve Harvey. Now, Steve, what do you think I should do? You know what I'm saying? Then this nigga comes in and tell you, you know what? You know what I'm saying? Let this motherfucker know, man. You like a fucking insurance plan. Now you giving out insurance policies to niggas. You know what I'm saying? You give them 90 days, 80 days and shit. And then at the end of the day, tomatoes. You got even worse than where you started. Now, to me, I call that a lose-lose. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not even helping you. Do you see what I'm saying? Another thing, too, like fast food restaurant. If you understand, that's what this, I can't recall that motherfucking name because I did see the movie, too. And, like, he understands it. Every great marketer, I'm trying to tell you, even when we talk about, I'll give you one better. So I was going to say, fast food restaurant. What was it that people are looking for? You want everything fast. At one point, I used to be like that too. Shit, that's, you know what I'm saying? Until you cultivate more in you. Until you start looking at fucking your divine side, then you understand craftsmanship. Then you understand, like, you know what I'm saying? Then you see beauty on a whole different level. It's a state of mind, man, not to be quick just to eat, bro. Like, yeah, how about, do you see what I'm saying? It's a state of mind that comes with that. But yet, with fast food, everybody want to eat, dog. You know what I'm saying? I've seen a McDonald's commercial, like, if you want to be a man, I'm a man. They had that special around that day, around that time. They had a hungry special. You see what I'm saying? But for you to, you know, I know for me, hey, I'm gonna be honest with you, motherfuckers. Yo, I used to pig out, bro. But again, I didn't see no quality in me. You know what I'm saying? When I started seeing quality, man, listen, man, I can't be eating that much, bro. You know what I'm saying? Now, I paid my dues, baby. Like, I don't want you to get this fucked up. Nigga, at one point, I love food so fucking much. Like, the plate's gotta be this high. And for me to just look at them before I even start eating. And of course, I had to trace that shit down because it all comes down to how I was brought up. And then it was my, you know, because I wasn't raised with my real family. But anyway, it was my grandmother, You know what I'm saying? Like you, hey, you a man. You gotta eat like a man. Go ahead, keep eating. No, I'm full. No, eat more. You're a man. A man gotta eat like a man. Nigga, I'm 4 years old. You know, maybe I don't have a man's stomach yet. But anyway, I mean, this is the actual dysfunctional shit that we all gotta go through, and most of us went through. You know what I'm saying? And for you to activate you shit, you need I needed God more than everything. I needed to delve into the highest. That should save me, bro. I'm telling you, that's my testimony. Find God. You know what I'm saying? But what I want you also to understand what it means to find God too, and also to us too. Like God has a lot of meanings. So it's just to show you. You know what I'm saying? Come on, man. I know all of us like to say God is that person in the sky. Yeah, but when other shit happens, oh God, oh my God. You know what I'm saying? Or were you talking about that guy right there? Or do you see what I'm saying? So it's a greater part of us. I guess after enjoying that greatest part of us, now if you have to name it or locate this motherfucker, then you give it the beard. But all that is also signifying, even when you look at God as being a man, is conceptualizing you. Listen, if you get this, God bless you, man. You blessed. You blessed. Then you truly understand this is not going against God. Oh no, 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 no. In fact, shit, this is you understanding what it takes. You it is you understanding what you don't see controls what you see. So the concept of God is just enormous in itself. But better yet, we were talking about the spiritual activation. That's what I want you to understand. So, but most importantly, you have to devote your life to God. You can't just, I mean, people who just go to church on Sunday, it becomes a social thing. And you can see there's no transformation in them. Those are the one who talk about God. But if you want to be about God, my friend, it's not a Sunday shit. It's a living thing. And part of that activation, you got to see it in your mind. And that's why, you know what I'm saying, you got to be devoted to God. Our nature in itself for us to operate. That's why if you don't see it in you, you cannot find it nowhere else. That's why you need God. And that's why you got to see it in you too. Not just needing God, you need God because that's the deeper aspect of yourself, but you got to see it in you too. Listen, man, this is for the grown ups, man. You know, and that's the true life transformation that you go through by eating the flesh of Jesus. Because anybody who ever ate or drank some of that water, what you no longer thirsty, right? So that transformation has to take place, and it takes place by you seeing it or making it just like when if you're looking at money or if you're looking at your soul. That's why your soul is greater. What are you identifying yourself with? Because what you identify yourself with is greater than anything else. If you identify with money, well, even when shit, integrity ain't gonna mean shit to you. But I would call it delusional because you don't really see. Because there's nothing outside of you. But the bottom line here is that what you identify with, that's that's the that's in other words, you've always been activated. To activate the spiritual side of you, you gotta tap into your spirit. That's why if we're going back to the law of manifestation, like I tell niggas, when going back to the whole collective shit, the secret when it came out, huge. Was these motherfuckers saying anything that you didn't know? The Matrix, the first one. Was these motherfuckers really saying something that you didn't know? We knew that shit so much subconsciously. I remember when the first Matrix came out, there was books that came out, many different books, many philosophy book. Like you already know it. Even when we're going back to the whole manifestation shit, you have already manifested your life. Now, are you conscious or you either if you do it consciously or subconsciously, or consciously or unconsciously, however you want to put it. But your subconscious is conscious, and if you're not conscious of what's conscious, when well, that's when you become a living corpse. You follow the big crowd. Isn't it? We always say, what is it? How do they say it? Like, I mean, your salvation is a personal thing. So I can only lead you to the fucking water. Even you to accept, you got to accept Jesus. But now you got to understand what Jesus is to you. And if you understand by you, when you looking to activate your spirituality, you have, it has to be part of your life. You got to be devoted to it. That's what it means. It means you got to see the divinity in you and nothing else. And by you seeing that divinity in you, that's how you balance the scale. That's how now you become transcendent, or you have transcended, if you want to put it that way. But also you have become whole. You become sane. You could see the bigger picture. And the fruit of you activating your spirit and solely or identify with that God, those divine qualities in you now allows you to become peaceful, joyful, having compassion for other motherfuckers. That's what the Bible is referring to when they talk about the fruit of the spirit, which is the God and you, those God qualities in you. Integrity, these things comes in. You do the right thing not because people is watching you. I do it because of me. That's a man of God. That's a man of integrity, a man of his word. And when you embody that, then you become God, like you become a Jehovah's Witness because now you are letting other people know what God is all about. But anyway, I was just being dramatic in that part. You become a direct representation of what that is. And that's what makes you a religious man. The true meaning of being religious, that's what that is. It's God consciousness in the physical. Isn't that what you see with Jesus? Siddhartha became the Buddha. A male, well, you got to become a man. It's part of, I wouldn't call it a spirit activation, but there's some level of understanding in it. And as you should understand by now, our lives, you can't go beyond you or your understanding. That's why you should seek understanding in God, nigga. God show me the way. This is now you addressing or expanding your higher self. Or it could be spirit too, because they're all, you're going beyond the physical. So, again, it's not a Sunday thing, it's a living thing. But for it to become a living thing, it has to be part of your understanding. It has to be what you, what's the word that I'm looking for? It's got to be what you direct your mind to. That's why your intelligence has got to go there. It's got to seek for God. But it's also, too, it's almost like you got to know it. There's a level of knowing in it. It's like, that's why you got to give yourself to God. Giving yourself to God at this point, to those non-physical aspect of you. And just like anything else, just like a baby that was born, as you become born again, now you start to acknowledge the spirit in you. Then now you're going to have to know how to crawl. You know what I'm saying? You're going to start all over again. And as you're doing so, then down the line, that's when you become Christ. That's when you become Buddha like, Krishna like. Because at that point, that knowledge and wisdom that you see in your mind, or that little bit of understanding that the Holy Communion, that's what it is. Now you became one with the Word. And through you, now the Word is being made flesh. Do you see it? Do you understand? It's your regular life. Now, what do you identify yourself with? That's what you activate. Like I was telling my man, I can't recall, like, if we're going back to the whole manifestation shit, you already manifesting, dog. Your problem is you want to change your manifestation, but you don't want to change. That's what it is, and it doesn't work that way. And that goes for everybody. You got to become, you got to be it. And that's what in the book of, I can't recall, but that's what fucking Think and Grow Rich is all about. They telling you to adopt what? A Godhead, well, not a Godhead mentality. That's not what they're saying. A rich dad, poor dad. He's telling you, helping you to adopt a rich man mentality. And that's what's going to manifest in your life. This is all spiritual. The only difference here is that I'm trying to get you to see the God, the ultimate thing in you. That's why me as a spiritual healer, I'm holding the mirror of wisdom so you can see it. See it in you. I can only lead you to the water, nigga. Nothing else. Like, that's why, in actuality, just like I was saying, to devalue yourself. It's like that shit doesn't exist, man. Like you're not gonna devalue yourself and become fucking successful. I mean, or successful. I'm referring to even to accomplish anything. That's why people, man, if you think you can do it, man, you might be able to do it. But if you don't put yourself in that state of mind, you're not gonna do it. So that's part of your essence. That's your nature. That's how you operate. That's why you could talk about God all you want. Until you become God, you're never gonna act like him. Or let's just say you be like God, or try to be like him. Whichever thing that settles, that would ease up on that statement if it was too strong for you, whichever one you choose to use. But I hope you get the bigger picture here. Like your growth, your level of thinking, or your state of mind, it's not something you do every Sunday. And it's being reflected in your reality, well, because that's what you're reflecting. So again, if I'm going back to the whole thing, if you think money's everything, meaning your understanding of money, it's like when you look around, that's all you see. It's like cash rules everything around me. Well, there you go. Let's get the money. That's why you'll see niggas that tell you, man, and no motherfucking illegal money. Because we all getting money, is it not? I mean, of course, yes. There's differences and all that shit. But for the sake of what I'm trying to say, it's like that isn't that the game that you're playing? That's the reality that you're living in. I'm trying to get you to see it. You know what I'm saying? It's always niggas that didn't have shit. Now you got it. Let me get your shit. Fuck out of here, nigga flossing around me and shit. I'm hungry, dog. Woof. I mean, do you see it? You know what I'm saying? It's your mentality, your level of understanding. When you change that, you change your life. So for you, because to transform or to activate your spirituality, going back to what I said earlier, you know, it's to change your whole DNA, your way of thinking. That's why you need to adopt the Godhead mentality. When you understand polarity, for me, how that reflects in my regular life, it allows me to see it from different angles. And I deal with it in the way that is best to me because I see all angles. It's not being triggered, it is what it is. I'll give you a perfect example, right? As a spiritual healer, I don't just hold the mirror of wisdom, I hold another mirror too. It's called the mirror of your conscience. That's what makes me or give me the privilege to call judgment on motherfuckers. Because now what it's doing is it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, hey, you did what you did. There's nothing I could do. You know what I'm saying? What the fuck? It's almost like, do you see what I'm saying? You never see a motherfucker that committed crime and now is reaching out like, yo, nigga, especially a nigga that commit crime against you. Now, the same nigga wants you to help him. Yeah, you want to talk about delusional? At its best. No, man. This is your mirror, dog. Look at you. And best believe, everybody got to reap what they sow, dog. That's none of my business. I keep a pure heart. a balanced mind, because I'm in tune with everything. What your shit got to do with me, dog? Well, I know everything, but you know, it's me. I understand. Other than that, it's just me. That's it. But you do what you do because of you, though. That's for everybody. There's no shortcut, regardless of how many years you may think you've been getting by. Oh, Nick, it's just a matter of time. And sometimes the better you got it, life has a different, like, God is like, you know what I'm saying? I could see a lot of people, they thought they was gonna die with this shit. You know what I'm saying? we all gotta reap what we sow, man. Again, that has nothing to do with me being a good person. Had nothing to do with me being a bad person. And as a spiritual healer, I truly understand that, man. I hold the mirror of consciousness with these niggas too, or of your conscious. That's why for those of you, I am the gospel, and for others, I am bad news, man. And I know it too. And I'm so bad news for these motherfuckers, they don't even know. And to you, if I'm good news to you, oh, listen, man, I hope you know. Because I know. You know what I'm saying? Because I know. So all of that, man, activate, get you activated, baby. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna keep you guys for too long because I feel like I touch on, but just to summarize, because and again, this is the whole beauty of it too, because I love to touch on different aspect, allows you to see or have a bigger picture of what I'm telling you, right? I mean, that could have been a 5-minute video, you know what I'm saying? But the beauty of it is everything that we touch on, the different examples, you know what I'm saying? And now, let's summarize this motherfucker real quick, right? Because, almost 2 hours, but let's get down to it, guys. Essentially, in essence, I use the example of the seed and the tree for you to realize that although essentially, the seed is the tree. Keyword here, essentially, but there's still a difference. Because, and you all know it too, over time it has to grow, but most importantly, it has to be nurtured. But every potential that's in that tree here derived from that seed, and that's your essence. That's how we operate. That's who we are. That's why, you know what I'm saying, there's beauty in us, but yet we have to find it. You have to, like, shake the dust off, you have to go in within. If anything, the reason why, if you want to argue it this way, maybe that's the realm that we in. The realm of what Maya, the realm of illusion. Us having a body. And then within that body, then there's you. Just like as a male or as a female, well, I've been talking about male for a minute, as a female who was born with a pussy, you have to learn how to become a woman. In that aspect of you now, to be a woman, now that other aspect of you, yes, it's relative. It relates to your pussy. And just like, shit, having a dick not gonna make you a woman either. You're gonna be so far away from it, regardless of whatever the fuck you think you're doing or how connected you think you are. But anyway, doesn't matter. Tomatoes. What I'm truly saying here is this: there is more to us than what we appear to be, And for us to be the best version of us, you got to be dedicated to you. Your dedication to yourself now is done through God. And that's how you activate that spirit in you. Again, part of your essence is that you always do shit. And the way you do shit, you see it in your mind, you reflect it. You are the beholder. You see it, you reflect it. You identify with this, that's what you reflect in your life. Your life is a reflection of your mind eye view. And the reason why I'm telling you got to be careful of mythology is because most of our mind eye view comes from mythology. Call it the Bible, call it the book of creation, call it Isis, Osiris, whatever you call it. Now, as you become more conscious or you have activated your spirit, then you get to understand Osiris and like you use it in a way, I mean, the way it is intended for you to use. And that is to set yourself free. And that's the blueprint that we created, us, niggas, Egyptians, niggas. Hey, I ain't gonna sugarcoat this shit. That's what the fuck it is, right? So now you have other people using that blueprint, and that's what you have. That's what you call today your colonizers. That's why for them to get you to think a certain way, they give you God, their God, because through their God you get to see their perspective, their understanding. So now a lot of us, you're saying, oh, Jesus is Horus. Yes, you could make the connection. But Horus, the way Horus is being presented to you, it's not the way Jesus is being presented to you now, is it? Because when you talk about any of the fucking Egyptian god, they help you to see the God in you. Like you. But on the flip side of that Jesus part, it isn't really you. It's how you follow shit. Clever? Why the fuck not? I mean, not really if you're asking me. I mean, but to you it is. Like, even if you're arguing this is what it is, you miss the point. You don't understand it. I mean, you sound good if you want to talk about your research. Again, your academic bullshit. Oh my God, Jesus was this, Horus was that. But at the end of the day, if you don't understand why it was used and how it's being used, then how do you deal with that today? Again, we're talking about mentally balanced. Because consciousness, that's what I'm saying. You can't have two type of consciousness, bro. Like I always tell people, if you look at the 80s and the 90s, and that's the best fucking example that I can use, right? Because I was, well, as far as I know, I was born in 81. So I'm like right between, let's just say, when I used to listen in the fucking 70s, all the way through the 80s, but mostly as you start to pick up and really listening to music, it's almost like my childhood and my adolescent, it was two different, I was rocking in two different worlds. So we got the 80s, and that was beautiful, you know what I'm saying? Your Michael Bolton and all that beautiful shit. And then but I'm also a hip hop era too. Do you see what I'm trying? I'm saying that to say, okay, this is what I'm trying to say. Although the 80s and the 90s are very close, very similar issues, very like, I mean, but they are different in essence. And that's why, too, when we talk about being conscious, I mean, we may say a certain timeline could be repeating itself. You may say it, but in reality, it's never the same. So, in actuality, I mean, history does not repeat itself. Does that make sense? I mean, this is not history repeating itself. This is a continuation. You, I mean, out of your ignorance, because you're thinking you a new, different timeline, right? So if you want to talk about history, right, I'm just saying, to me, history does not repeat itself, because every situation is different, no matter how similar they are. Like if you can't come from the '90s, now you jump into the 2000s, early 2000s, different vibe, different everything. Now, can we say the core issues are there? Yeah, fuck yeah. You know what I'm saying? The core issues, but you can't approach them the same way. Meaning, when we're talking about the core issues, you wouldn't, as long as you understand the issue. That's why you can't approach. I mean, I don't know. I hope that makes sense to you. But I'm saying all of that to say. I know there's a whole bunch of shit that I'm trying to say, right? Consciousness is always in the present. Like, I'll give you a perfect example, too. Another example, right? Early on, even in my spirituality, as I was seeking for myself, searching, you had guys like, let's just say, Bobby Hemmett, the Brother Panics, and other guys, Alan Bay, Valentine's. A lot of these guys, what they were doing around that time, they were actually giving out books. This is where you're going to get it. This is where you're going to get it, right? But now, not that I'm following anybody, but I'm also doing the same work, right? It wouldn't make sense for me to do that. It wouldn't make sense for me to tell you, I mean, especially in today's day and age. You could Google anything. You can Google like, because around the time when these motherfuckers were doing what the fuck they were doing, books weren't as popular. Certain information, like, look at the age that we're in now, bro. Anything you want to look up, Google that shit. For a good listen, you'll have some understanding of it. So I'm saying that to say, and that was the core, if we're talking about the core issue was never giving out books. But at that time it was necessary because that information was not all around that way, right? So those of us who had this incline in us, or who was spiritually inclined, having the book now help us, right? But those of us now who are spiritually inclined, well, you can Google some shit, nigga. Different methods. And not just that, you have sites or even, what is it? I can't recall that. Oh, shit. That gives you the summary of certain books. Even better. So I can't do what these guys were doing. It wouldn't make sense. I don't think it would make sense. What the fuck? Or let's just say I just wouldn't want to insult you that way, man. Or maybe I'm giving you too much credit. I'd rather do that, nigga. I'll get shit. Like, because if you can't even take that minimum of credit for you to do it for yourself, like, so why the fuck are you even listening to me? Because this knowledge is to help you. What are we doing? I'm saying that to say how unique consciousness is. But once you activate the spirit, it's all gonna be part of it. That's the beauty of it. That's part of the activation too. Is to understand the timeline and seeing the differences. So again, as you're seeing that, your intelligence become different. Your mind, you're wired different. That's what being born again is. Now you are wired different. Now just to go back real quick, because for some reason I felt like I didn't finish up that point. If we're going back to the whole manifesting shit, the whole secret shit, and then even when you talk about it, you go like, "Yeah, man, I know that. I see. I know I knew it." So, in so many words, I'm saying this to say, like, again, we reflect that, we speak it in our language, in everything that we do. That our true essence is more than what it looks like. So when you get your when you become spiritually activated, now what you're truly doing is not just, okay, now we talked about, dedicating your life to God, because now you understand the way you operate. You would need to incorporate God in you for you to be like God. That's just part of you. Anything you do, you got to see it in your mind. You got to have that understanding. That's why you need God. That's why we created God, to bring out the best of you. And of course, and this is not denying other spirits, other whatever the fuck. They all exist. And guess what? You one of them too. And this is the ancient wisdom. When you truly understand, that's what this whole shit was about. True self mastery. That's why when you get into your spirituality, it makes you a good human being. Because now you're reflecting the God's quality with your neighbors, or with others. Your aura changes. Everything about you, you shining bright in all aspects. So it changes your DNA. It changes your intelligence, your mind, your senses became different. Whereas in the past, when you were living a lustful life, again, it doesn't necessarily pertain to fucking, as the word may entail, but what this is referring to is, it was external benefit. This is you living your life as a whole. This is you gotta pay your bills, you working at your job, you don't like it, you doing what you gotta do. This is the mask that we all live. Again, this is the world that we have created out of our ignorance. Because now we identify ourselves with that. So that's where, like, the whole Cat Williams shit, to me, I mean, a lot of you don't see the bigger picture. If you're just looking at the music industry, look at the bigger picture. Isn't that what you're doing? How about your job, nigga? You gonna tell the truth at your job? Oh, you got your bills to pay, and hey, man, I gotta do what I gotta do. Which one is it? Again, a lot of you guys are, anyway. Um, let me see. Anything else that I didn't say? So technically summarize it for you to understand. The whole spiritual activation is you acknowledging your spirituality, but by incorporating it into your intelligence, into your mind. This is what you should be looking to. And as you're looking to that, and that's what's going to balance you out. That's what's going to help you now when we talk about the fruit of the spirit. That's where all of that good shit's going to come out from. Now you having compassion for other motherfuckers because you understand that they don't understand what they don't understand. You being at peace now, being joyful now, you look at your reality of life. It's more than people who are not eating. Yet we're not saying, fuck that. but we also acknowledge a greater reality around us. So let me just say, well, not really that I'm sorry, but if your reality, it just does God exist, or is there a God because of that? Like, that's all you see around you? Do you see your growth? Do you see understanding? Do you see miracles? Do you see like other shit? Remember, you are the beholder. Now, to truly, what I'm, okay, the activation of your spirituality is you, the beholder, who is now being submitted to spirit. You become now the servant of spirit. That's why you have to devote your life to it. Because this is not a Sunday, once a week shit. This is a life experience. Just like you're living your life, you're going through life progressions or understanding and growth and all that shit. Well, now you tap into your spiritual side. Now you're growing that way. For you to become Christ-like. So always remember, if money, if you think money's everything, like we were talking about, then you do everything for money. But then if you think money's not everything, the results is you're not gonna do everything for money. Just like if you're a man of God, your senses are not going, they're not, you're not gonna fall for your senses. In fact, you have strengthened your senses. I mean, don't get it fucked up. You're still gonna be faced with the, the bitch with the fat ass, but then you're gonna be like, I know better. Because the idea is not for you to be like the fat ass bitch, for you to be like, no, bitch, get the fuck out of here. Yes, I mean, if you get there, that's good. That's good. But it's what I'm saying here, it's not that suppression. It's you acknowledge that because, just because that doesn't mean your ass is not looking fat, baby. Hey, girl. I'm saying? Like, shit, that doesn't mean you don't have the curve. You know what I'm saying? You got the curve, but you could get that curve out of here. You know? You know what I'm saying? So I'm not denying the curve. Oh, I see it. Shit, nigga, I ain't blind. But that's not what I go by. But that's because I had to see more in me. And that's why, again, I don't want to reopen all that shit. We're going to leave it here. You get the gist. All right? So always remember, for you to be you, nobody else could be around. Always go within so you don't go without. The remedy of the pain is in the pain. I see. Mali.